to the MMA Fan Podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Stu and Blake.
Hello and welcome to the MMA Fan Show. I am Blake Harrison and joining me as always is a Stuart Whiffen.
Hello.
How are you, mate? I liked the hand movement. I didn't know you were going to do that.
I knew it was coming.
You knew it was coming.
I knew
I've
there'd be
become too predictable.
I'm liking the elaborate intros, and I like the fact that you elongate the Stuart.
Yeah.
Yeah. Buffer, watch out.
Yeah, that's it. Alexander, the great Volkanovski.
Who's the Cage Warriors dude? What's his name? Is it Hal?
Chaplin?
Oh,
but we've messed up now. We should know his name.
We was going to have him on at some point as well, weren't we? But you do a really good... do it. Do it.
Introducing first.
So good. Introducing first.
Introducing first. I like it. I do love that. I love the eyebrow. It's always the eyebrow.
So
He gives it the eyebrow.
So good. He nails it.
Yeah. Right. We're here to talk about, obviously, UFC 298. But before we get onto that, Stu, we've got a tiny bit of news, haven't we?
We have. Boom. Viewers of this can now see a lovely, shiny logo for Ferocious Fightwear. We have a sponsor. So since we've opened the studio, we've started to try and scale things up, and it's been amazing that we've managed to find someone that's reached out and have gone, we love what you do, will you shout about what we do? So I had a little meeting with the team. They sent me down some incredible rash guards, shorts, gum shields, wraps. So we got some stuff here on the studio table, and yeah, they're going to be working with us for 2024, and it's great to have them on board. If you've not checked them out, they'll be tagged in all our posts on the socials, and if you don't really sort of do the social media thing, no worries, just head to ferociousfightwear.com. Get yourself some stuff to train in, and or why not just buy yourself a rash guard, a pair of shorts, a gum shield, wrap your hands and just sit at home and watch UFC?
Yes, that's what I intend to do. It's actually a really lovely material, that rash guard. We were saying, actually feels really great. It's nice.
Absolutely. Ferociousfightwear.com, sponsors of the MMA Fan Show. Now, introducing first. Right.
Let's go.
This is what we're here to talk about.
This is wobbly. Anyone watching on YouTube, this is just like a ghost has got this and it's just going a mind of its own. But the mic I'm referring to people that are just listening in. This is wobbly. Right. Oh, mama. There's so much to say about... I mean, it's a great card all in all.
Yeah.
I mean, Volk Topuria, amazing fight. Whitaker Costa, really great fight. Gary Neal, brilliant fight. And Cejudo Dvalishvili, great.
And there's more.
And there's more fights on top of that as well. Our man Oban Elliott is on the card for his UFC debut. Kopilov Hernandez both on 4-fight win streaks. I mean, it is great. Mackenzie Dern and Lemos. I mean, yeah, it's a cracking card all in all. And it seems to be the start of a number of great cards. We've got 298, then in like a month or whatever, we've got 299, which is absolutely stacked. And then after that, we've got 300, which we still don't have a main event for, but is, I think, absolutely stacked. Anyway, if they said, nah, we're done, we're not going, but the main event is Gaethje Holloway, I'll be like, yeah, brilliant, I'm all in.
I did see an interview, or someone posted an interview with Dana, where he was saying they could literally make a TV documentary about trying to make 300. So there must be...
You know they will then.
Perfect trailer, yeah. So there's obviously loads of exciting stuff happening behind the scenes that we don't know about. Yeah. And I don't know, the longer it goes, the higher my expectations are for something freakish and like, oh my God, like to the point where the longer it goes on, the worse I think I'd feel for Leon if it's Leon Bilal. Because
it can't be Leon Bilal. It can't be now,
man. Because they would have made that.
Yeah. And I think, like, don't get me wrong, I love the Leon Bilal fight. I think it's deserved. And I think that it's a great fight. And I'm a big fan of Leon. But now the fan base won't have it. They won't have it. So they must have thought they were on something with the Drickers versus Adesanya. Maybe Drickers got injured, it couldn't happen, or Adesanya said I didn't want to come back, or maybe they thought Pereira, Tom Aspinall put out that tweet or whatever it was about like having a ticket to Vegas and it had the stone face, the Poatan kind of like stone face thing. I'm not into that fight.
You're not, are you?
I don't like that fight at all. It does nothing for me on a kind of competitive level. Obviously, Pereira doesn't deserve to step up and fight for that belt.
But we need, at this later stage, we need something that is almost freak show. And as I mentioned, just that, holy shit.
I just think Tom mauls him, though. It's just not fun. I just think Tom just goes, oh, well, you're amazing kickboxer, but you've got nothing on the ground. And I'm probably going to be 2 freestone heavier than you on fight night.
Does he hit any harder than Pavlovich?
He might do, and he'd probably have more. I don't know. Yeah, Partan is. His striking's incredible.
We know that. But so's Pavlovich's.
Yeah, but no, it's not up there with Alex Pereira's. Power, maybe, but no, not technique and all that kind of stuff. But I just think Tom mauls him, just takes him to the ground and ends it in the first round really easily. And we didn't really gain anything from it. We've not learned anything. So I'd rather see Tom fight. And I know this is a bit out there. I'd rather see him fight like a Derek Lewis or a Tai Tuivasa.
No.
Yes, I would, because they're legit heavyweights. If he were to lose, because you've got to be careful around that kind of knockout power like he was around Pavlovich, then it actually means something for the division.
Yeah.
Whereas
they're fun fights.
Alex Pereira, I'm just like, nah.
It's not a UFC 300 headliner.
No, not for me. If Izzy steps up against Pereira,
that's been awful. That would be a freak show.
No, yeah, it would be. But
anyway, look, this is what's annoying me. Everyone's talking 300, and there almost feels like overlooking 298 and 299 because what we've got right in front of us here is. I honestly think, right. Let's start at the top of the card, right? So let's talk about friend of the show and everybody's favourite fighter, Alexander Volkanovski, right?
Let's talk first about the little advert he did where he was too old.
Incredible.
So good.
Incredible.
These two are doing such a good job of promoting this fight in, like, the best way. Like, Topuria just seems like... I mentioned this to you earlier, and we'll get into this a little bit more. Anyone that watches this show, we're huge Volk fans. He's been on the show 2 times. We love Volk, so we're slightly biased and we're just open about that fact. But I do really, really like Topuria. And Topuria is scaring me a bit because he's giving me Conor Aldo, O'Malley, Sterling vibes. Just like he's saying all this stuff. His bio is UFC champ already. Have you seen that on Instagram?
No.
It already says UFC champion.
Oh, that's a bleak Sunday when you've got to remove that, isn't it?
That would be. But it's just like, this guy looks like he's a star in the making. All like the vibes that you get from the fight week and all that stuff that we're about to see. I feel like what we're going to see is this young, hungry lion saying, it's my time. And I'm going to show you it's my time. And it worries me for Volk because I really want Volk to win. But I'm getting those vibes, and we could see the end of an era in Volk, and we could see the start of something really impressive from Topuria, who goes on to be, maybe he becomes the next superstar of the UFC. Maybe he becomes the next guy that is like the pay-per-view king and headliner. I mean, he's, popular in Spain because he lives there, but his parents are Georgian and he flies the Georgian flag. On top of that, he was born in Germany. He speaks good English. He has a fun fight style. He's a good-looking lad.
I think this is the most exciting fight the UFC can make at the moment.
I think you could be right. Yeah.
I don't think there's a more exciting fight right now than this.
I mean, with people that are available. I mean, Jones Aspinall is the fight that has to happen for me. That won't happen, but yeah, I think you're hard pushed to find a better fight than this in the whole of the UFC.
Absolutely. Now, my mind has changed a little bit.
Oh,
okay, so when we done a show at the beginning of the year, I was just really worried about, and we've spoke about this on multiple shows, about the fact that Volk's come off of that horrible knockout to Islam. And is he coming back too soon? And, we've referenced the times that Volk said that when he's not in the gym and he's not training, he doesn't feel right. And all of these things are problematic. Seeing that video he done the other day, like hosing down the thing, sending a message on a typewriter, watching tape on a VHS.
It was the neighbour that got me. What do you say, Volk? Oh, sorry, Betty. Nothing, Betty. Let's go inside, boys. Hey, get back to your Pentagon, mate. That looks so good. It was his performance in it as well.
Fantastic.
Was really good. It was really natural. It was really great.
So it makes me think Volk's in a great place.
Yeah.
Right? And I think... we know that he trains like a beast, and it's like he's took time out to do that. So I think he's very calm at the moment, in a really good place, and seeing the press he's doing, he's still coming across like the Volk we love. But I don't know, there's an air of confidence about him that I'm thinking, I think he's loving the doubters right now. I think he's going, look, this kid is obviously legit. You know, he's earned his shot, but this is my division, and I'm going to go on a U-turn, and I think Volk wins this fight. I think it's going to go right. I think he's going to drag him into the later rounds, and I think he's going to maul him a bit, get him down, and I think he's going to ground and pound.
I mean, it's possible. I mean, Topuria was like Greco-Roman wrestler as well.
Of course.
Like when he kind of started off.
He's
and
super well-rounded.
I think he's, whether he becomes champ on Saturday night or if he becomes champ a few years from now, I think he's definitely got it.
There's no easy path. He's not got an obvious weakness that Volk's got to jump on. I do think he's very well-rounded, as is Volk.
100%. I mean... he's fighting a guy that's levels above anyone he's ever fought. The closest he's got to Volk in terms of levels is Josh Emmett, and Josh Emmett ain't Volkanovski. But what Topuria has done that worries me is those fights against, like, so Emmett, incredible power, dealt with it and boxed him up for 5 rounds. Bryce Mitchell, amazing grappler, dealt with him very easily. I think he submitted him in the end. Jai Herbert, rangy striker. I know Volk isn't that, although he does have long reach. Got caught in the first round, but came back from that adversity, showed his recovery, showed his chin. Huge knockout of Jai Herbert in that second round. Ryan Hall, jiu-jitsu wizard, dealt with him no problem, just smashing him up on the ground.
Look,
like he's so...
These aren't Alexander Volkanovski.
No, but what it is...
Or anywhere near it.
No, of course, and I was saying that, but what it is about Topuria is that it doesn't matter what style you throw at him, he deals with you, and he deals with you comfortably. Like, the closest I feel like we've seen to him being in any real adversity was the Jai Herbert fight. Jai Herbert caught him with a head kick, I think it was, and then it was like, oh, he could have him here. And that was upper weight class against someone that was probably 5 inches taller than him and all those kind of things. Like, and he still got the knockout in the second round. This man deals with any style you throw at him. Now,
so does Alexander Volkanovski.
Yes. Yeah, of course he does. But it's just, but my point is just like, it worries me. It worries me, Stu. I haven't seen anything in Topuria's game that makes me go, oh, this is the hole that you exploit. Yeah. All I've seen is...
Take the Islam fight out of your head, right? And just focus on him at this weight, right? And I'm telling you, he's got the... Look at Ortega. What Ortega done to him on the ground. Like, and I think we're going to see Volk continuing to wander around with that strap over his shoulder.
I mean, look, I want to see that. I that's what I want to see more than anything. But... yeah, there's just, I'm nervous for him. You know what I'm like. You know me well enough now.
Yeah.
I'm a glass half empty guy.
Yeah.
I'm like, the worst thing is more likely to happen than the best thing. And so I worry.
When Bruce is introducing them on Sunday morning, I'm going to be shaking. I guarantee I'll be shaking. My nerves will be too much for this because we're invested in Volk because he's just been so kind to us on the show. And so I don't want to see it go wrong. And I think we're going to be all right.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, well, it's just, is it too soon for Volk? That's the question, isn't it? It's like that Islam knockout was 4 months ago. We spoke about this with Sam Patterson as well, who seemed to kind of just be like, look, everyone's sort of different. If he wins the fight against Topuria, everyone's going to be going, no, great, well done, mate. If he loses by a knockout, it's like, yeah, it was too soon. Yeah. So, you know, that we don't know. We don't know if it was too soon or not. He definitely seems... One thing I've really liked is Volk seems confident now. I watched the Countdown episode last night and it had that moment immediately after the Islam fight. And I don't know if you've seen that, where they're in the locker room after the fight and Volk's sort of in tears because he's like, I was drinking every day. I was just like not taking anything too seriously because I didn't have a fight booked or anything like that. And then this came in and I was like, I'm not happy with what I'm doing in my life. I need a fight to get me motivated and to kick me into gear. And he took that fight on 12 days notice. And he said, I feel stupid. Like, and even Eugene Behrman went on Helwani, I think recently saying he didn't win the fight when he had a 12-week training camp. So how was he going to win the fight on 12 days' notice? I was dead against it. However, Volk was the guy that saved that card.
Yeah.
Chances are he got a brand new contract where they added a huge sum of money to every fight he's going to have in the future. And you're a family man. Has he got 2 or 3 kids, Volk? You know, and he knows that he's had everyone chirping in his ear, and we're people that are guilty of this as well, of talking about He's 35 now. He's in the lower weight classes. He hasn't got long.
Yeah.
All that stuff. So he's probably thinking, well, the UFC have offered me a fight on 12 days' notice, but they've also offered me an extra 300 grand per fight.
Yeah.
Or whatever it is that he's now going to have for however long he wants
Yeah.
to fight, not just as a champ, obviously champ as pay-per-view, but if he lost the belt and continued to fight in the top 10 for a few fights, he's still getting that money.
Absolutely.
So for the betterment of his family, he probably feels like he's made the right decision. But in terms of his career and legacy and all that kind of stuff, you could say that the second Islam fight was maybe a bad choice. But, you know, when he retires and he's got an extra 3 million in the bank because he's had an extra, 6-7 fights with an extra however much money per fight, you can't really knock it, can you? It's like,
No,
you're going to do that stuff.
Not at all.
Providing the best for the future of your kids and their kids and all that kind of stuff. I mean, yeah, I don't know, man. If I have to pick, I'm picking Volk, but it's one of those ones where I just don't know which
head
way.
and heart, isn't it?
It's a little bit, but but also head saying, well, Topuria's not shown me he can beat Volk yet. Like, he can deal with any style, and he is really dangerous, and he has got knockout power, and Volk has just been knocked out, and that's a worry. But Volk is special. He's one of the most special fighters I think we've seen in the octagon. The way he can kind of adapt game plans on the fly, how well-rounded he is, how he can go from one thing to another. That finishing sequence against Yair Rodriguez, where he caught him to the head, smelt blood, followed him up, ripped the head, ripped the body, then picked him up, dropped him down. It was like it did everything in about 10 seconds.
Yeah.
Headshots, body shots, takedowns, ground and pound. He did it all.
Yeah.
And just Yair didn't know what hit him.
Well, look, let's not get into the what's going to happen for these after, because we're going to speculate as to who wins and what comes next. I'm imagining there's a rematch.
If Volk loses, there would be an immediate rematch because he's earned it.
Yeah.
He's earned an immediate rematch.
100%.
But the record for, title challengers when they were, having an immediate rematch to get their belt back, the record is poor for the people that are then challengers to get their belt back. So the statistics wouldn't be in his favour in a rematch. So I'm hoping he does it here and now, and then I just love Volk. I want him to do really well.
Come on, Volk.
Come on, the Volk.
All right, Bobby Knuckles, Paulo Costa.
Man.
So before we get into this fight, right?
Go on.
Interesting. This is what I've read that Robert Whittaker has said about Paulo Costa. He's a tough, powerful dude, and he's a bully fighter. If you give him space and you give him his way, he'll bully you in there, and he thrives off of that sort of situation. But, mate, I've fought plenty of bullies before. I'm going to take the fight to him. I'm going to bully him. I'm looking to get in there and hurt him. So, no, I don't think he'll be getting his way. I think for myself anyway, it's more about me controlling the fight, taking the fight in the direction I want it to go, like leading the dance, if you will. So that's more or less the game plan, to go out there and hurt him. I hope he delivers that. Because there's also lots of talk. Like, Chael Sonnen thinks this fight's not happening.
Chael Sonnen says a lot of stuff.
Yeah, Chael Sonnen says a hell of a lot of stuff.
He says a lot of stuff.
But, yeah, he's convinced this fight's not happening. He thinks Paulo Costa just won't bother turning up. And
I don't think that's true.
But I think now it's too late. I think if there was going to be some sort of pull, I think maybe by now it would have happened.
I don't know about that. I don't think Costa's just going to pull out. I think it's all I think he worked out a new contract with the UFC a while ago. He's probably happy enough with it. He's fighting a former champion. He's fighting a guy that means if you beat him, you're likely to get a title shot next. And I think that's what Costa wanted. I think, he was maybe less happy about fighting Khamzat, but now he's fighting Robert. No, I don't think. I think if anyone pulls out, it's for a legitimate reason. So, I don't think it's just like
with this fight. What's the benefits of Bobby Knuckles getting a win here?
So that's an interesting one. Paulo Costa, I think he could get a title shot.
100%.
And I think Paulo Costa's gone through this weird thing with the fans over the last few years where, and I don't know if I said this on a recent episode, but he was the guy everyone hated after moaning about like, oh, well, I was on the red wine before the Adesanya fight, so that's why I lost that fight. And everyone was like, shut up, mate. And then he had that whole thing where he was booked to fight Marvin Vettori in a middleweight fight. Then they bumped it up to 195 because he said, I can't make the weight. And then all of a sudden it had to be 205 with a few days' notice. And
Becoming
Vettori
a super
was
heavy in the end, didn't he?
Yeah, well, Vettori was an absolute gangster and just went, whatever, mate, I'll fight you at any weight. And Costa ended up basically, in a way, missing weight by 20 pounds from what he originally signed the contract for. And everyone hated him off the back of that. But then, all of a sudden...
But in that meantime, Vettori endeared himself to the public because no one was really on like Marvin Vettori, really.
No.
And after that fight, I think everyone was just like, fucking fair play, brother.
100%. But now, Paulo Costa's done a 180 and...
The secret juice, man.
The secret juice. Like, people love it. And, you know, he seems to have upped his social media game and all that. And people are really into him now. And so I think a win for him gets him a title shot. I really do. I think Robert Whittaker, it's a tricky one because if he wins, he's already just been beaten by the current champion. If Izzy gets a title shot and wins, he's already lost twice to Izzy. So he needs someone new to come in and win that belt. He needs... I don't think he can get a rematch with Duplessis off just the back of this win. I think he needs to win this fight. There may be calls for Sean Strickland.
Yeah, of course.
And if he calls for Sean Strickland and beats Strickland with the way that Strickland has become unfathomably a star now, I think that could then help people go, okay, we will watch Robert Whittaker face Dricus again. That'll work. But otherwise, he needs someone brand new like a Hamzat or someone like that to come in, win that belt so that he's a fresh challenger for that title.
Agreed.
But I also think that he's got a big chip on his shoulder. I think that Dricus loss surprised him. I think he slightly underestimated Dricus, and I think we're going to see something special come out of him. But I don't think you can sleep on Paulo Costa. He's got unbelievable power. Part of my research for this was to re-watch Luke Rockhold versus Paulo Costa. If anyone that's listening to this now or watching this now, if you've got Fight Pass and access to Rockhold Costa and you don't remember that fight well or you didn't originally see it, it is one of the funniest fights you will ever see. It's up in Salt Lake City in altitude, and they both get tired really quick. And I mean, I think everyone remembers Luke Rockhold kind of rubbing the blood on Costa at the end of the fight. Yeah. But there's a moment where Costa just punches him in the dick. There's a moment.
Was that Rockhold's last fight?
Yeah. Obviously he fought Mike Perry in bare knuckle and lost some teeth. It's not gone well for Rockhold. But like, Rockhold at one point is just like, he's getting battered and he's tired. And then he's got blood all over and he just goes, fuck you, and lands a huge left hand on Costa, who's like, oh shit. It's so funny and so weird.
Yeah.
The whole fight is really weird. You don't see fights like that often, particularly at the highest level. And it's just a really fun 15 minutes of fighting. Like, honestly, if I've ever had a few drinks and I want to show a mate like a really awesome, funny fight, that's the one I go to from now on. I go to Rockhold and Costa. It's amazing. But
so how are you seeing this? Who are you picking, mate?
I'm just looking at a few of my notes here, and I'm just like, we forget how old Robert Whittaker is, you know. He's only 33. You think, like, he's achieved so much in his career, but he has been through some wars, like those two Romero fights, then getting knocked out by Adesanya, recently knocked out by Dricus. Like, I kind of think with Whittaker, he's only 33, which at middleweight, you know, that's not old, that's fine age. But fight years and the amount of punishment his body has taken. Not to mention, there was that time that he dropped out of was it the second Romero fight or something like that, where he had, or was it the Izzy fight? I can't remember. Didn't he have like a problem with his bowels? Like his bowels were like exploding. Like he had to have some severe surgery where like it would have been life-threatening had he potentially stepped into the cage. Like it was like really horrendous. So his body has been through an awful lot, even though he's only 33 years of age. And
what a fucking dude, though, man.
Oh, a legend. He's another one that whenever you hear him speak, he just seems so chilled and so like reasonable and realistic. And I love that more than
they're Aussie fighters, man.
They're Aussie fighters. They are great. I think Costa, his kicks are so powerful. His kicks are so quick. His hands are so powerful. But I do think Bobby Knuckles can mix it up a lot. I think he's got to throw in takedowns and just give Costa something else to think about. Not that he has to take him down and hold him down, but just if the threat is there, it just opens up the striking a bit more. And that whole thing where he hides that right kick behind the cross and stuff like that, that everyone's aware of it now, so it's really hard for him to land it, I think. But I think he needs to be really well-rounded in this fight in order to give Costa too much to think about so that he can land the strikes and avoid the power.
I think a five-round fight would have suited Bobby Knuckles better in this.
I agree.
I think that would have given him a bit of time to zap Costa a little bit with that kind of clinch work and sort of, you know, holding him but I don't know. I think Costa's, I mean, I'm looking at him here and he looks in great shape, but obviously you just don't know what he's going to rock up on the scales as this weekend. But I think we're going to see a little statement by Robert Whittaker this weekend. I think he's going to avenge that Dricus fight and look decent.
I think if he doesn't win this fight, I think this sounds really harsh. I think we might be seeing the decline of Robert Whittaker.
Well, I think that's a fair assumption, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't see a title in his future again if he loses this fight. So there's an awful lot on the line for him. He may not see it that way. Other people may not see it that way. But I think with the way the middleweight division is going, you've got Izzy's always in for a shot because he's Izzy. Dricus is the champ who's got a win over Whittaker. Obviously, Izzy's got the win over Whittaker as well. Paulo Costa would then have a win over Whittaker and he's, you know, becoming a big star in his own right.
Hamzat.
Strickland is a huge star. Hamzat's coming through. We don't know if Usman's going to try and go stick with middleweight, but I'd love to see an Usman-Whittaker fight. I think that'd be great. Brendan Allen's coming through as someone that could be a genuine contender.
Let's not sleep on him, man.
No, and then there's people like, I'm a big fan of Ikram Aliskerov. I think he could be a real problem in this division, maybe in 2025. And so then you just look at Whittaker and go, God, there's a lot of miles on the clock for you. Despite you not being that old, as we mentioned, there's a lot of fight years in him. That he's had these wars and all that kind of stuff, and I worry that we might see that decline for Whittaker. I'm going to go Whittaker again. Maybe it's a similar thing of like heart over head a little bit, but I do think that skill for skill, Whittaker is a better fighter than Paulo Costa. He just has to avoid the power, and he struggled with that against Dricus. But I do think he underestimated Dricus. He has struggled at points with it with Romero, who's another huge power puncher. Like I think there's a huge argument that in that second fight with Romero won that fight. I think there's a big argument to be made for that. So he struggled with the big, powerful guys at that division that hit really hard. And Costa is that. So if Costa catches him and finishes him, I wouldn't be shocked.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going Bobby Knuckles. Okay. Boom. It's our boy Ian Machado Gary versus Jeff Neal. Now, this one was initially set for last year, wasn't it? Kind of fell through. And,
Jeff Neal pulled out, I'm assuming, with some kind of injury, and then Neil Magny stepped in.
Yeah. Fucking poor Neil Magny.
I hope that calf's all right now. Well, he got a good win againt Milot,
He got a great win
so
against
good on Neil
Milot.
Magny coming back.
So I'm really excited about this fight. I think, we've seen love or hate Ian Gary. I don't know why people hate him. I think he's had a very, very rough ride in the press. He's not talked anything he hasn't walked yet. And I think that's what makes him so exciting. You know, what he done to Neil Magny showed that he is world class. And, where's Jeff Neal ranked? 8th?
Yes.
So this is a great fight, and I've been watching the footage of Ian Gary, and now we've seen him. Obviously, we knew that he was up at Renegade because there was, I think, obviously the media jumped on the fact that there was a little bit of an issue there. I'm sure there's issues between people in gyms constantly, but for some reason, the media seem to like picking on Ian Gary at the moment. And,
I don't know if it's as much the media. Well, do you know what? So
they're fanning the flames, man, because it's getting.
I'm not going to. I don't. It depends on, I suppose, your definition of media.
Well, right, okay, so, social media.
So for me, there's a lot of media outlets out there that are really good MMA media outlets that are thoughtful. They don't announce things unless they've corroborated multiple sources, and they're really good outlets. And then there's others that are maybe, in terms of their production and where they're at in their background, similar to us, but I like to think we do things the right way on this show, or I hope we do. Anyway, we don't fan those kind of flames, and we say what we think is right rather than just trying to get clicks. But I think there's lots of people out there with podcasts or whatever that talk about MMA, and they'll see, oh my God, so-and-so's happening with Ian Gary, or something about his wife or whatever it is, and they'll chat absolute rubbish about it. And
but that feeds the algorithm, so it becomes viral. And
and that's the problem is that, it's the social media aspect, it's the trolls, it's all that stuff that I think get on Ian's back. And I suppose you mentioning that makes me go to, I was going to talk about something else first, but really for me, I think Ian takes this fight relatively comfortably. Jeff Neal has got strong hands, but he has struggled with long-rangey fights where he struggled against Neil Magny, and it wasn't like Neil Magny just pushed him up against the cage like he can do with fighters. Neil Magny beat him on the feet. Ian is a much better striker than Neil Magny. We saw that. He's long, he's rangy, and I do think Jeff Neal struggles with that. And I think Ian can piece him up a little bit on the feet. He just needs to be careful of those big shots.
But if it goes to the ground, I mean, have you seen the footage of him with Charles Oliveira?
I haven't seen the footage, but, we know that Ian's got a good ground game. And from that fight against Jack Grant that we saw at Cage Warriors where he won the belt, he must have improved exponentially since then, because he's gone to Shooter Box, because he's gone to Kill Cliff, because he's done stuff at Renegade. He's been to all these amazing places where he's got really good grappling in, and he's learning from the best. I saw a picture of him and Damian Maia a little while ago together and stuff. So,
and not just that as well. He was at Tiger Muay Thai working on his striking as well. So he's training with the best people in the best places, living that nomadic lifestyle. I'm loving it.
Yeah, it's great for him. I think, for me, the big question for Ian is, where's his head at? Because how has he dealt with... Obviously, in the lead-up to the Luque fight, it was all kicking off, and then he had to pull out of the Luque fight due to an infection. I think it was pneumonia, maybe, or something like that. He was really getting it then. And I think he's done a really clever thing of not really doing too many interviews. He's kind of kept under the radar a little bit to try and just keep the attention off of him, which I think is a really good move. Let your fighting do the talking for this one, and don't get involved in any of the drama. But has that left a lasting impact? We're filming this on Monday. I don't know when this is going to go out, but... the whole fight week is still to go. He's got to go do press conferences, media scrums, whatever other commitments there might be. There'll be people online talking about him. I know Kevin Holland loves to put out a tweet about, or an Instagram post taking the piss out of Neil Gary. Neil Gary? Ian Gary. Yeah. And so it's something that I'm like, I hope that his mindset, and I'm sure it will, stay solid throughout this week, and he just stays on task and stays on focus, because that's the only thing for me that would cause him a problem in this fight, is if he's not mentally 100% on it.
I think when it comes to, the media obligations, he's generally going to be doing them on his own, but I think when it comes to the press conference, if they do one with all of them up on stage, which I presume they will, there's some big talkers. We're going to get on to Cejudo next. He's going to be dominating a lot of that microphone. Not that anyone's going to want to hear it, but he will be. You've got... Everyone's going to have questions for Volk. And I don't know. I think Ian could... Jeff Neal's not going to be... I presume he's not going to be spitting loads of venom at him at that conference. I don't think he's necessarily that guy. I think Ian Gary could kind of maybe ease his way through that, depending on how he plays it. I guess that's how you control that situation to the best of your abilities. I know a lot of it's out of your control, but if he doesn't kind of get too loud, too confident in his answers, then maybe just ride this one out. And like you say, let your fighting do the talking, because so far it's been wonderful to watch.
Yeah, I think so. I don't think Jeff Neal's the type of guy to kind of give it to him in a public place, in the press conference and all that kind of stuff. But he will have a chip on his shoulder because of the whole mugshot T-shirt thing, which I was never a fan of. I have to say, I don't know the reason that Jeff Neal was in that situation, had that mugshot taken and all that kind of stuff. But I didn't think it was the classiest thing to do from Ian.
I think that and the some of the stuff he said about Neil Magny. I don't really know what happened, what the legalities of what Neil Magny done, and what context it was meant to be taken as, but. Yeah, it lit a rocket under Ian Gary, and he I don't know. It was that and the Jeff Neal thing was a side of Ian Gary we've not seen before. We've seen the brash, but always very, very respectful to his opponents. But for some reason, he made it personal with these ones, and I just think, I mean, don't get me wrong, it worked for him because what he put on display against Neil Magny was a masterclass.
It was,
But yeah, I think he's a future champion, Ian Gary, and I think he's doing everything right inside the octagon at the moment. And the fact that he's so exciting in the octagon, I think he's a big part of why he's getting so much attention out of it as well.
And I think that a win, especially if there hasn't been too much furore around him and the attention's on other people, a win and a finish, and something good on the mic that isn't going to stir up too much trouble or whatever, but is good on the mic. I think the fans will gravitate back towards him quite quickly in a positive way. And I think it's all like, okay, that little blip's done. We've learned, we've evolved, we've got more resiliency because of it. We now move on with this new thing. And he'll be ranked 8th. He'll be solidly in that top 10. And he'll be someone that people are looking at as someone that could challenge for the belt very, very soon, I think. So, yeah, best of luck to Ian Gary. I'm assuming we're both going for an Ian win.
We are.
Let's move on to the little guys, Merab, who I absolutely love. What is it, that little thing he come out with the other day about, if you haven't seen it, go onto Merab's Instagram post, and he was talking about the idiocy of all these champions that are just going, I'm going to fight the guy that beat me a while ago.
Yeah.
And it ends with Merab fighting a guy that I don't know if he actually fought him or not, but like some 50-year-old bloke that he competed with in like combat sambo or something. I don't know. But it was really funny. The whole thing was funny. And I'm a big fan of Merab. I think this is a really interesting fight, though.
I think Merab's gas tank's way too good. I think this is a really, really comfortable win for Merab.
Wow. I couldn't disagree more.
You're joking.
I'm not, don't get me wrong, I'm not going for Henry, but I think this is a really tough fight. I mean, don't get me wrong, Merab's got a great gas tank. I think Henry, of all the people, is going to train his... do you know what? You have to really respect Henry's mindset, because I think he's one of these guys that's... I think he's got all the money he probably needs. He's got the accolades. He's got simultaneous two-time or two-division UFC champion. Before that, an Olympic gold medalist.
Really? I've never heard him mention that.
But, it's phenomenal stuff. It really is. So...
Is it just his ego that he's keeping him going?
But I think, whether it's ego or what it is, credit to him, because I don't think he's doing like what we imagine Conor to be doing, where we think, oh, this guy's on the yacht. I know yacht has gym, but he's on the yacht and he's just living life, and he's just drinking his margaritas or whatever, and just like having a nice time and then training a bit. Henry, I feel like, is putting himself through the trenches. He's got that wrestler mentality where he's like, embrace the grind, go for it, all that kind of stuff. And I think this is a really tough stylistic matchup for Merab, because of Henry's wrestling capabilities. Now, what Merab does is he comes at you like a tornado, regardless of whether he's striking or grappling. But Henry will be prepared for that, and I think he'll be technically the better wrestler. It's just whether Merab's explosiveness and relentlessness and continuous nature of just spamming takedowns, spamming strikes, all that stuff will just be too much for him. And I don't know. I think I'm leaning Merab, but I don't think it'd be easy at all. I think
Henry wins, that's so boring for the division.
Well, at least you might see Sean O'Malley fight. I don't think O'Malley's fighting Merab.
Yeah.
I don't think he wants it.
No, he doesn't. But poor fucker, do you know what I mean? What else has he got to do? If he beats Cejudo, give him that fight. Get him in that red leather jacket, get him on the media trail, and it's a huge fight. I know that... I don't know what's big enough for O'Malley at the moment. Who's out there that is a big enough name outside within the UFC? Because he's talking boxing. Come on, man, you've just won the strap.
I think I don't know. I mean, all right, let me paint you a little picture. I'm not saying I like this picture, but let's say Topuria beats Volk.
Right.
And let's say O'Malley beats Vera. Mm-hmm. That's too massive. I think if Topuria beats Volk, his star goes through the roof. I really think the whole Roses thing. He's undefeated. He does these videos where he's got a documentary that's ideally for him going to come out after this fight called Road to the Belt, and it ends with him winning the belt. He's planned this for years. Conor did that as well. He had that documentary that he was filming back when I think he was on the Dole. And so you're like, these types of people are just a bit special. They manifest their lives in a way that the rest of us could only dream of. And it's just like, if he wins that fight and his star goes through the roof, and O'Malley beats Vera and his star is really affirmed as, yeah, I'm the guy, they could just do it. What would be bigger business? What's bigger business than Topuria and O'Malley if they both win their next fights? There's not many. I mean, Izzy, probably. Maybe Hamzat. Jones, but he's injured. Like, that's a huge fight. That makes loads of money. I'm not saying it's right. I don't like to see fighters win the belt and then step up until they've had at least 3 title defences. Sure. But it's business, man. And I can just see the UFC doing that. And that would be something I think O'Malley could go, I want to do this. And Topuria, if he gets wind of it, would go, yeah, brilliant. Let's do that. Why would I want to fight Movsar Evloev or Arnold Allen when I can fight a guy in the lower weight classes for way more money, pay-per-view points?
It's a while away yet, because if he wins, he's going to have the rematch with Volk.
But he doesn't have to do it straight away. If the UFC could do it, they might just go, fuck it, mate. Yeah, go, fight O'Malley. And it would be better for Volk, I think, to get a bit of distance.
Ilia Topuria does not beat Max Holloway. Does not beat Max Holloway. Fact.
Mate, I don't know. But anyway, look, we're going all over the shop. We're talking about Merab and Henry. I think Henry really needs to do a lot to stunt Merab's forward pressure. He needs to hit him with something big early on, which he's not usually known for. And let's not forget that, I don't think Merab has ever made flyweight. I might be incorrect in saying that. But obviously Henry was a champion at flyweight. He's probably a naturally smaller bloke. But Henry does have phenomenal Olympic gold medalist pedigree wrestling. And as much as Merab is amazing with his combat sambo and all that kind of stuff, I just think there's a world in which Henry could try to put him on his back and just pin him there and keep him there. I'm not saying it'd be exciting. I'm just saying there's a possibility it could happen. But I'm leaning Merab. I think the pressure, I think he wins a decision.
I agree.
I think Merab by decision, but I don't think it's an easy one.
Anthony Hernandez versus Roman Kopylov, 185. I mean, this is quite an interesting one. I see this. I think Kopylov I just think he's more powerful. I think he's sharper with his shots. I see a finish.
I think we might get a finish over. I think this actually low-key, maybe, I might be crazy in saying
this is going to be bollocks. I know it is.
It could be a fight of the night.
Oh, fuck off. Come on. Come on. I love the fact you always try and eke in a little wild card statement, and a couple of times it's paid off.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that all the times it don't, they never get mentioned again. But you just plant it in there just so Smug Harrison can turn up next Monday.
Well, look, let's just see. And if they don't work out, no, I remember, so
exactly.
It's fine. Look, Kopylov's on a 4-fight win streak. He lost his first 2 in the UFC, then he's on a 4-fight win streak, all 4 of those by TKO or KO. Yeah. So you know what he's coming to do. Hernandez on a 4-fight win streak, with most of those wins coming by either submission or ground and pound. So we know what he's going to try and do. Yeah. But Hernandez also is kind of a scrappy striker. He does get involved in brawls and wars, and he's quite happy to throw hands.
He's quite happy. Look at his face on there. He's really happy.
He's very happy.
Look at his eyebrows. He's had some work done.
You reckon?
Handsome man.
Handsome man. I think he can be really... I think there will be excitement in this fight because I think Kopylov, I mean, who was it he head kicked into oblivion? I'll have to pull up the records. I should have done this earlier. But he's one of his recent fights. He absolutely head kicked, and it resonated around the entire arena. It was Claudio Ribeiro, and it was in round 2, and it was you watched it and you was like, oh, you see head kicks, you're like, oh, wow, that was amazing. And you see head kicks where you go, oh, God, is he okay?
Yeah.
It was that second one.
Yeah.
And I think he's going to be coming to do that. And I think Hernandez is going to get involved in some scrappy moments, but he is going to go for takedowns. And when Hernandez gets you down, he's not a lay and pray. He's not just a couple of strikes here and there. He hunts for submissions a lot. And I think we could see a finish. And if it goes for a while, it could go quite back and forth. And we could see a really, really fun fight there, actually, that maybe people aren't expecting. So, yeah, low-key contender for fight of the night.
Amanda Lemos versus Mackenzie Dern. I mean, this was obviously Dern's stepped in. Because this was meant to have been Suarez, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
And,
I think Lemos has lucked out there, to be honest.
I mean, this is. Am I right? Dern's just come off of the loss to
Andrade, and she
bad loss to Andrade.
Bad, yeah.
So she's 2-2 in her last 4, I think. So,
well, if you look at the pattern of her last 6, win-loss, win-loss, win-loss. So this should be a win.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't think it is.
No, I can't see it being.
If patterns are correct,
I think what we saw against on Andrade, Mackenzie Dern striking.
Her striking's improved. It has got better.
It was not that league. It was leagues below.
I think what it is I think, and I said this before the Andrade fight, and I think it came to fruition, was that...
Don't strike with Jessica Andrade.
Maybe. But I think what it is we've done, and this sounds horrible to say because I'm not a fighter and I don't know what this is like, but I do think that there's an element of trepidation about Mackenzie Dern sometimes when she gets hit hard. I think she goes into sort of like survival mode quite quickly, and her striking defense is all over the shop. And Lemos hits hard, and I think Dern could come out and win the striking exchanges for about a minute and a half. And then Lemos just catches her with something, and all of Dern's kind of like, unless she's filled this hole in her game, I think things could go quite badly for her quite quickly. I'm just waiting for Lemos to land that one strike that means that Dern goes into panic mode. And now after that, Lemos just takes over and just smashes her up.
Yeah.
So I'm picking Lemos to win this fight. I just think, as you say, the discrepancy in striking will be a problem. If Dern can somehow get it to the ground...
Yeah.
That's her world. She can get an armbar, a choke, she can do whatever, but
you've got to get into the fire to get it there.
Exactly, yeah. So I'm not confident in Mackenzie's ability to get it to the ground.
Okay, well, look, there's some other fights on the card that we're not really going to touch on. Justin Taffa.
Taffa's looked good lately.
He looked great in his last outing. But what we want to talk about is the UFC debut. Fresh from his win at the Contender season. He's multiple guest of the show. The gangster himself, Oban Elliott. What an absolute legend he is. From the first time we ever had him on the show, just an absolute legend. Just tells it how it is. Has got such an endearing way about him. You can't help but just love the fella. And seeing him get that contract to get in the UFC was absolutely wonderful.
What a fight that was.
Oh,
that
what a
Contender
fight.
Series fight. Like, I thought he was getting finished at one point, and he came back like phenomenal.
Yeah.
What unbelievable heart and determination.
Absolutely.
And just like abilities of like recovery and durability. Like incredible stuff from Oban Elliott.
Obviously, the Welsh gangster trains under former guests of the show, Richard Shaw. Also, see Jack Shaw's just announced a fight.
Has he?
He put something on his socials this week. I can't remember who it was against.
Oh, I'll have to quickly look it up now.
And also former guest of the show, Brett Johns, all fighting under Richard Shaw. And the thing is with this fight, I don't know too much about Val Woodburn other than he was on I think a 6-fight win streak in other organisations, and took his first loss on his UFC debut. And yeah, fair play, mate. I mean, if your first fight in the UFC is against Bo Nickel, you're straight into the fire there, aren't you? The hype around Bo Nickel, and I think, he got KO'd in 47 seconds.
He was brought in last minute, and he seemed to be enjoying his time. Like, oh my God, I'm on this amazing pay-per-view, and because Val Woodburn. I mean, I've not even really heard of the organisation he was fighting in prior to the UFC, because it wasn't even like it was LFA or Brave or, any of those bigger ones that you hear about stateside. For me, I was going to look it up now, but he's come out of obscurity, and I tried to look up some of his highlights and different things, and I couldn't really find anything. So for me, I'm going in slightly blind into this fight, because I don't think the Bo Nickel fight up a weight class in your debut is really indicative of what we're going to see. Combat Night Pro. I've never heard of Combat Night Pro.
No.
If I'm missing something, then please let me know, fans of the show. Combat Night Pro.
Oben's obviously got a great body of work in that he's achieved in Cage Warriors, and he's all passion, isn't he, Oben?
Yeah.
And I love that he takes that into the octagon with him, and I just wish him all the best. I think he's waited a long time to get this. And it's presented himself. It was such a strange time. I think seeing that Oben and George Hardwick going over to the Contender Series, and I mean, if you looked at the pedigree of wins and the strap around George Hardwick, you presumed that George Hardwick would have grabbed that strap and gone straight into the UFC. Unfortunately, it didn't happen that way for George. I'm sure it will at some point, but to then see that Oben had done his business and had got there was absolutely fantastic. So best of luck, Oben Elia, on your UFC debut, and we need to catch up with him afterwards.
That'd be great. We should do,
and have a chat, because he's such a top lad.
Can I ask? Is it my eyes? Why does he look so pale? I think of Oben as almost quite a tanned bloke.
I mean, it is quite
it's a very pale
dimly shot
there.
picture.
He looks slightly dead. He looks like he's a zombie.
I guess he's not. I suppose at Media Week this week they'll probably do his first proper UFC pictures, maybe.
Yeah.
And maybe
he'll go for a little spray tan.
Yeah, absolutely. He spray tans, isn't it?
Yeah, don't do sunbeds. Don't do sunbeds, guys.
Don't do them, kids.
Don't do them, kids.
Right. Okay.
The old melanoma.
Right, so I guess we've come to the end of the show. How are you watching it this week? Are you going to start for Volk?
Oh, I don't think... it's such a good card. It makes me want to stay up.
I know.
I'll see what I've got going on. If I've got any work and stuff to do the next days, probably not. But if I get through all the work and... Do
you know what's going to happen? I know what's going to happen for me.
Go on.
I've got no plans at the moment, so I'm going to stick on them prelims. I'm going to watch Oben with the intention of going to bed after it, and then I'm going to watch Oben get the win, and then I'm going to be see a couple of little bits of VT of Volk, and I'm like, fuck, I'm not going to bed now. My heart will be racing, and I'll be like, there's no point going to bed, because I'll just be laying there thinking, what's going to happen? I'm going to start for this one.
Do you reckon? You reckon you're staying up the whole night?
I think so.
It is a proper late one as well. We've been kind of having the 10 p.m. prelims and midnight main cards. It's not. Yeah. It is a 1 a.m. prelims, 3 a.m. main card. Does that change things?
I'll watch that Sunday. We've just come off the back of the Hermansson weekend, which fucking hell, Jack Hermansson, mate, drag him into them later rounds. What a cracking fight that was. But I'll tell you what, Dan Ige, mate.
Oh. Looked phenomenal, and I felt bad for Felix. I really like Felix,
and I think Dan Ige felt sorry for Felix. They're mates, aren't they? And I think it was and I thought Andre Fili was looking great until that moment as well. But fucking hell, and that was meant to have been Lerone Murphy, right?
Yes, it was. It was meant to be Lerone Murphy. I don't know if he's got another fight booked. I think he teased something on socials but not announced anything. So hopefully Lerone's got something booked soon. He's had some bad luck, but he deserves a big fight, Lerone Murphy, undefeated. I'm just looking again at 298 and just going like, well, the first fight on the Fight Pass prelims is Andrea Lee versus Miranda Maverick, like ranked flyweight fight, like good fight. Then you've got Oban, our guy. You've got to watch him. Don't know much about Josh Quinlan and Danny Barlow, but then you're into the normal prelims. Couple of fights which I don't know too much about, and then Taffa, that'll be fun. Lemos Dern, that'll be interesting, and then you're onto the main card, and it's just like Anthony Hernandez, Kopylov. If it goes the way I want it to go, what a great way to start that card, and to go into every fight after that is something you're super interested in.
Absolutely.
Super interesting.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, it could be worth staying up for, but whether I actually will or not, I don't know.
Well, all that leaves us to say is please subscribe and go check out ferociousfightwear.com for all your fightwear needs. And other than that, we'll see you on the flip side for our post-298 show. And lastly... Come on, the Welsh Gangster. Let's do it.
I want to see some Hulk Hogan celebrations.
Definitely, mate.
A bit of that.
Definitely.
Come on over.